Welcome to part 22 of our Inktober Zentangle Challenge. My name is David.
And I'm Gayle.
The pattern for today on day 22 is called Shattuck by Zentangle Incorporated, or the Zentangle headquarters. And if you've been following along in the Zentangle world for any amount of time, I'm quite certain you have either heard of or more than likely drawn this tangle numerous times. It's a very popular one. It's been around for a long time and it's quite easy to draw. So I think we'll have some good fun, maybe a little easier day today than some of the recent ones have been, a little more challenging. It can be laid out and used in a variety of configurations, just like most tangles, and it makes a great background filler. So I'm going to actually use it in that way here on my layout. I'm going to do it here to cover a partial area. I could fill this whole space here. It would be a nice way to do that, the background, but I want to leave some of this open for some of the ideas I have at the end with the color and so on. And so we'll cover that, of course, when the time arises. But today I'm going to just divide this roughly about here over to here, and I'm going to just take it from the base of my nameplate all the way to the edge of the page. It's just a good opportunity to get some fill in there, and I'll show you how we're going to do this. Now again, I'm going to use my silly little post-it cheat sheet, and I'm going to just create a line that's going to run up, and I'm going to just use this to help me draw a little better straight line. I know Zentangle traditionally does not use rulers and that sort of thing, but I wanted this line to not look real wonky, and my hands can get shaky, and so sometimes it's all right to go ahead and use a tool like this. In fact, Zentangle headquarters has made tools that they use for drawing mandalas and for working with phi tiles, dividing up those golden ratio points and so on. So it's totally fine. There's no harm in doing it. And I'll show you the very simple way that we're going to draw this tangle pattern. So Shattuck can be drawn using curved lines or straight lines. I'm going to use straight lines. I think, Gayle, you said you might use curved lines. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, so Gayle's going to do the curved line version, so we'll be able to show you at the end the difference. But it's assembled and drawn in the exact same way. Now, I find it a little easier as we build our layers here to start with that initial shape. Now, some people will start drawing lines like this, and you'll see what I'm doing. But I like to start with the pattern from the corner because that's where I'm going to stop my line. So I'm just drawing that straight over like that. And now I know I can go right up to that same spot from this side, and I'm going to be able to create kind of a parallel or symmetrical form. And the space between your lines, and some people call these little boards. It almost looks like we're laying out little boards on a wood design of some kind. But you can space them however wide or narrow you'd like. So I'm going to just pick what I think will be a nice width, and I'm going to just draw parallel or auraed lines all the way down until that space is filled in. Now once I have one side, it's very easy to do the same thing because we can start right across from there and draw that down. And we can see the starting point for those lines, and it just makes it a little bit easier to keep things symmetrical. And that's a big part of the Shattuck picture when you're doing it in the traditional or standard sense. Now, if you're doing a variation of it, obviously that may not be important. So now what we do is we reverse the direction of our line. So we're going to go this way and this way. And I try to mirror or emulate the same basic angle that I've used here. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but that's kind of what we're shooting for. And then I'm just going to place these lines in approximately that same distance apart and just fill in this area. And then we'll do the same thing to this side. So we're going to continue this line up. And in my case, it disappears behind the little butterfly or bee fly shape. And if it's helpful, it's not required, but you can sort of use your other lines as a guide. So down here, I would carry on that line. It's not required, but if you want to try to create that super symmetry, you can do so. I usually just eyeball it wherever I want those lines to be, and maybe I'll pay for that. Maybe it's going to look not as nice when I'm done, because I didn't worry about that, but I just like to sort of eyeball that process. So now once again, we're going to switch direction. Going to come back this way. And we're just creating this pattern as we go that has that kind of neat layered, inlaid wood look to it. And I started down here. I could have started here, as you might, but it's easier to have the pattern developed so that when I get behind things, it's not as confusing as to where those lines should go. And that's one reason I did it that way, just as a tip or a hint for you folks as well. Just makes it a little bit easier. And here's where our Zentangle tactic of drawing behind really comes in handy. And of course, that's nothing unique to Zentangle. Obviously, tons of art forms create depth by drawing behind or drawing incomplete versions of what appears to go behind. We don't actually draw it behind, but we make it go behind. And now here, we know that these lines are going to go the opposite direction. We don't know where the top is, so I'm just going to try to emulate the sizing that I've been using and just let that continue as I go across. Just kind of like that. That completes this basic pattern, so it's really quite simple. So we can set our pens aside once we get all of those patterns drawn in, and we're going to go to our graphite. Now again, using that Zentangle methodology, we can create shadows anywhere lines come up against each other or where they appear to overlap or go underneath or over the top of another one. And so using that basic premise, I'm going to add some graphite here to all of these areas, and I'm going to create some graphite areas where these pieces appear to overlap. Now you also have these shapes that are overlapping the background, so we can add shadows there as well and help to enhance the sense that they are lifted up off of that background. Here is our bird's eye view after adding our Shattuck tangle here on day 22. But let's also take a look at Gayle's, where she did the different version, I think she said.
Yep.
Thank you, Gayle. All right. So yeah, you can see right off the bat a very similar placement. It looks like we had unique or not unique ideas. We had the same thought, but you did a nice curved version, which I'm glad you did because it shows. I really like the curved version also, but I just wanted to try the straight lines, and this works out well. So let's zoom in so people can just get a little better view of that. So you shaded it in much the same way. You did your borders the same.
Yeah.
You highlight or shaded around your other shapes that intruded upon it, so that's cool. Looks very good. You did a great job.
Thank you.
And now here's the side-by-side. I'll zoom back out again just so folks can kind of see the side-by-side comparison. Man, we almost got it exactly the same size. How about that? That was awesome. That was not purposeful. We did not measure these out or anything in any ahead-of-time fashion. So, wow. But there you see. So we've got the round and the straight version. Same basic effect, but it just has a slightly different look and appearance as a background. All right. Thank you, Gayle.
Welcome.
Well, folks, that's it for today's session. Thank you again for joining us. I appreciate it more than I can express adequately, but having you folks tag along and comment and watch and like is very rewarding, and I'm very grateful for that. So thank you, and we hope to see everyone back again tomorrow for day 23 of our Inktober challenge. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.